The Brandon Best Podcast. Episode 2. Quarantine Activities and Companies Cashing In. Follow on Instagram or Twitter at The Brandon M. Best for updates, to give feedback, and to get involved in the conversation.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Brandon Best Podcast. Gonna get a little meta here, I guess, and talk about the podcast itself. Pretty happy how things have been going. The first episode 0, I guess, had a little bit of wasn't happy with the mic, but I think I was able to fix that and get a better one going for episode 1 and now this episode. So that's been solved. Trying to get better every episode. Kind of listening back to them, it sounded like I was being maybe a little too monotone, needed some more inflection, being more lively. So something I'm going to be trying to work on going forward here, be a little more engaging, and also the content instead of just. I found I was just kind of explaining things and talking about things, trying to give more my take on stuff, and then asking your guys' take, getting some responses, reading them on the podcast, kind of stuff like that. So just some changes I kind of want to make going forward. Yeah, and actually started to do that. So off one of those Instagram stories you can reply to, I asked people, what are they doing during quarantine to be keeping busy, and got a few responses here. We got making videos from Omid. That's kind of similar to what I'm doing, content creation. Doing a little more production than consumption, so I love that. Got another one here. It is making awkward TikTok videos, an unsung hero, keeping everyone entertained and attempting to exercise. Definitely staying motivated, like getting out of your regiment and just overall schedule. I know has like messed with a lot of people for sure. Um, Once you like kind of get in a groove and you have a routine, that's probably the biggest disturbance that a lot of people are probably annoyed about. I know I am when it came to the whole quarantine situation, and it's weird how like the home gym, working out at home is definitely not as motivating it is to be at the actual gym. I'm not even actually too sure what that is. If it's just you put in the effort to actually go to the gym and get there and get changed and stuff, so you're like, oh, I might as well actually put in the time and effort now that I'm here, or what. But yeah, it's I know a bunch of people are trying to do the make the home workouts work. I know there's a lot of like YouTube stuff, people doing like live like yoga sessions, I think, and whatnot. I remember trying to go to, I think it was Canadian Tire. Went to Walmart trying to get one of those pull-up bars that go on like the door frame. Couldn't find one anywhere. I had to order one online, and it took like a month to come usually, um, rather than something that would come probably within a week for Amazon. It's because they were all essentially back ordered, or people were marking up prices, which is probably one of the scummier things that people have been doing during this whole ordeal. Um, Make a daily schedule of things to do. This is probably a good one if you want to stay into a routine. Probably have to change your routine from what you're generally used to. And I'm trying to do this now too. Just have a list of things that I want to accomplish each day, but I haven't exactly made a list, written it down, or have a specific order. But that'll probably doing that might help some of you stay on task and actually make sure you're accomplishing things really. Um, writing things down seems to be like a lot of advice people give to actually, I don't know, acting on stuff. Um, I don't know how much truth that is to you. Maybe it just depends on the person. They find that work for them. I don't know if it necessarily something works for me. It's more, I guess, the act of planning out what exactly you need to do to accomplish something, maybe rather than just actually having a list and checking it off. But everything, different things work for different people. Baking, that's a big one that seems to have kind of swept over. Everyone's all of a sudden trying to be Martha Stewart or Zumbo or what's that other guy's name there? Gordon Ramsay. All of a sudden now, people are baking up a storm. That's also a strange phenomenon. I didn't think that many people are actually into baking. Now all of a sudden everyone's making cookies and cakes and whatnot while they're just chilling at home. I wonder what is it about being at home and just hanging out that makes you want to like make desserts. It's a weird phenomenon. I remember going to the grocery store and there was like no flour. I think most places are out of flour or low, and now baking powder, I've heard. So at least we have our answer. once uh, once this is all done, we can have a global bake sale and save the economy to jumpstart it again. There you go. And another answer we had, um, coupled with baking, which is probably the other side of the coin that lots of people are doing, eating a lot. Um, Definitely, if you're sitting at home bored, I find myself as well just snacking basically because there's nothing better to do. So, yeah, some good, couple good responses for people trying to keep busy, and some other people just admitting to the realities of just staying at home and essentially doing nothing. So, appreciate all those responses. And actually, if I'm gonna pull it up here, I just did a quick search on an article for some things or hobbies to do that you can learn or do while you're at home with quarantine. And not gonna say that I endorse all of these or think they're good, but it's some of them are actually kind of weird. But we can critique a little bit. Okay, so first one, speaking a new language. This one's actually probably one of the better ones for sure, especially if you've ever used Duolingo, just a phone application to basically learn a bunch of different languages. I'm pretty sure they're owned or backed by Google. So they're like really, really, really good, robust system. I actually used it to learn Greek. I think I started in October. And yeah, I've been doing it for a few months and it's really good if you do it, 15, 20 minutes a day. I was actually picking up fairly well. I like how it's pretty, I don't know, it's fairly adaptive. Like it can pick up if you're not getting certain words and feed you more questions and whatnot. So if you're looking to start speaking a new language, that one's definitely probably the best app. I would say Duolingo, the best one to go with. I'd recommend too doing it with another person as well because it's tough to just like answer and type it and read it um, just to the app itself. I feel like you're not getting the full experience, and when you actually go into like a conversation, it's pretty tough. It's a weird like contrast to make that jump. So if you have roommates or you're living with anyone, probably not a terrible idea to get them on the same one too and go through it together. So that'd be a good one. Um, Two, cooking obviously is a big one that people are mostly doing anyway with the baking. Baking number three, essentially the same thing. Let's see, yoga seems to be a popular one. I guess it's just a form of fitness, so that's not like too insightful of one. This article. Oh, here we go. Podcasting. Hence what I'm doing right now, doing some content creation. Um, Yeah, this one, there's a lot of pretty cheap like podcasting mics out online. I think there's one that generally most starting podcasters get. I can't remember what brand it was, but It's podcasting is definitely a good option if that's something you think you'd like to try out. Especially if you have like again someone you live with or a roommate that wants to do it with you, or maybe over Skype or Discord or something like that. Because I've done podcasting before, but it was with co-host or you're doing interviews, and it's so much easier to have good, not necessarily flow conversation, but you sound more, I guess, articulate, because when someone else is talking, you can kind of prepare like, oh, okay, I want to get this point across. You can kind of formulate your sentence in your head quickly before you say it, and you also don't get out of breath. When I'm talking here, it's just like me. I have to go kind of, speak. You're speaking off the cuff. You're running out of breath. You got to get a drink of water. It kind of I have more respect for like teachers and people lecture now, because I'm seeing what a challenge it is to be able to just talk for essentially like half hour straight. So yeah, podcasting's definitely a good option for sure. Reading, number six, reading. Yeah, obviously reading is for me. I can only read for so long. Um, I usually just limit it to like a chapter a day, unless you're like really, really into a book. And I guess it depends what you're reading. If you're reading for, I don't know, information, I guess, like the books that I talked about in the last episode there, Homo Deus and Sapiens, then it's kind of tough to sit through those for however long it was, however long it takes you to read for like a chapter. Some are longer than others, I guess, but let's say like an hour, hour and a half. It's I don't think I'm prepared to sit down for 2 hours and read. But if you're reading for entertainment, reading some fiction or whatever, then it might be more feasible. And that's the main thing why I did that kind of book review segment too, for for the last episode, was because we're in quarantine, and it's probably one of the things that people are going to be doing most to kill time, pass the time. So yeah, that was number 6, 7 puzzles. This one's actually, I actually really like this one. I was like big into puzzles growing up as a kid, and this one, the way it's written is just basically they kind of lump in like Sudoku and like crossword puzzles and whatnot. When someone says puzzle, I think of like a physical like puzzle, or they call it a jigsaw puzzle. I guess that's like the name for what I think of as a puzzle. Having like a 1,000 piece puzzle, 2,000 piece puzzle can keep you busy for quite some time, and I feel like it's kind of therapeutic in a way, sitting there quiet, like playing some music, or just sitting there in silence thinking and doing the puzzles is like fairly relaxing. I mean, at least I like it. Um, and it's also something you can do like some of the other things that I went through without looking at a screen. I feel like my eyes just get toasted after a while if I'm either watching Netflix on the computer, on my phone, or playing video games. Your just eyes are basically getting roasted all day. So it's nice to do something that doesn't involve a screen. Number 8, working out. Basically the same thing as yoga. And what was the other one? Yoga. Yeah, basically. Yoga was number 4. Same as working out, same thing. Um, Guitar. That's awfully specific. Probably just put new instrument, learn an instrument. I guess something that you can just order and or go pick up, and you don't have to like, nobody's moving a piano into their apartment during quarantine. I guess you can get a keyboard. That's fair, but learn a new instrument. I have zero. I used to play guitar for a little bit, but I have zero affinity for music. But I could see how this one would be really really enticing to a lot of people to either get back into, or they've been wanting to learn an instrument for some time. So now maybe you got the time to. Also, might be a good way to piss off all your neighbors. Number 10, meditation. Uh, I'm I don't really believe in, it's not to say I don't believe in meditation, but I hate the thought that you need to, sit down cross-legged and close your eyes or whatever and just focus on your breathing in order to do it. I feel like there's other way forms of meditation which comes down to just, I don't know, clearing your mind, um, or even just doing deep reflection in silence, let's say. So whenever I drive, for instance, when I'm just by myself, I don't play the radio or any music. I just kind of think. And I guess that's my like meditation time, because when you're doing your regular commute, you're kind of just going through the motions, and you can kind of clear your mind a little bit. You're not too attentive on the task at hand. So that's doesn't have to be what comes to mind when you think of meditation. I guess that's I I agree with it, as long as they're not saying it's the traditional kind of form. Um, 11, knitting. Yeah, not too sure about that one. Um, I guess it's something that's hard, that takes time and patience, which is, maybe you probably have one of those things during quarantine. Not too sure about the patience, but it's possible. Apparently, there's a trove of content for beginner knitters at YouTube. Probably on YouTube is probably the right word that they're supposed to use. With tutorials, yeah, I guess. Probably a fairly cheap hobby to pick up. Okay. Number 12, dancing. I mean, yeah, it's essentially working out. Or if you're making TikTok videos, like one of our respondents for the Instagram story there, Jamie. Number 13, making music. Another good form of production instead of consumption. Again, that might be, I feel like that's becoming the motto of this podcast. But yeah, making music. I don't know what music, like producing apps people use now. I know people who use Mac use like, what's it, GarageBand. I used like Fruity Loops way back in the day when I tried it. This was like, must be over a decade ago. It says here, now that Moog Music has made its music making app available for free. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, you can check out Moog Music, Moog Music. Their Model D app is a faithful reproduction of the original app. Okay, yeah, no one cares. All right. Home improvement. A little more of an aggressive way to pass the time. Um, Probably do home improvement slash cleaning. It is kind of spring now, I guess. People can sort of, just because the home improvement actually like might cost money, and even though you're home and in quarantine, this isn't exactly the best financial times for everyone. Even though I have seen some people that are doing some home renos, but maybe you've already have the equipment and everything, you've just been putting it off. Might be something good to do while you're sitting at home. So yeah, I mean, not everyone's hurting during this time. I know lots of, I don't know, media outlets are saying that everyone's hurting financially, and definitely a lot of people are, but there are some people that are winning big. I mean, in these times, in times of great crisis, there's always great, like, opportunity for financial gain. I mean, I was just looking over some stock prices for a few companies the other night, trying to see if anyone's actually benefiting from this whole thing. And Amazon's stock is higher than it's ever been. In the past 3 months, they're up almost 30%. So, I mean, obviously, everyone is ordering like crazy. Can't go to the store. Amazon's just picking up all those sales. So, they're absolutely killing it right now. Um, the pizza game is also real strong right now. It is a good time to be in the pizza category, as they say. Domino's Pizza, uh, almost up 30% as well in the past 3 months. Not many people know this, but Domino's Pizza has actually been one of the best performing stocks in the last 5 years. They're in the past 5 years, their stock price is actually up 234.16%, which is huge. I didn't even know actually that they are the largest pizza supplier in the US at the very least, might be North America, which is weird because I don't really see here in Canada a lot of like I mean I see Domino's, but they're never that nice. So maybe it's kind of one of those things where it's different in the States. I think in the States like Pizza Hut's supposed to be really good, but in Canada it's like absolute trash. No one likes Pizza Hut. So, but yeah, they're Domino's is killing it. What about Papa John's here? Papa John's is about the same as they were 3 months ago. They had a huge dip from a lot of controversy. Some of you might have heard with their former CEO kind of getting. There was some like a phone call where he apparently said some like racial things, but apparently it's some kind of marketing company called Laundry Service. Sorry, um, which sounds super sketchy in and of itself, trying to like take over the company and whatnot. So their stock actually tanked, but they've recovered back to where they were 3 months ago. So, and I guess part of this that I learned the other day, that makes the pizza takeout, pizza delivery business so profitable right now is that cheese is at like an all-time low for price because with all the restaurants being closed, there's like a really low demand for cheese. So the price just plummeted. And I guess cheese almost makes up 40% of the cost for a pizza when you're making it for these big chains. I mean, given the that's variable depending on the type of pizza, but there's some pizza pizza economics for you. Little pizza facts. Shopify also one of the ones that absolutely skyrocketed in these past month or so, past week. A lot of people getting into the online hustle, online entrepreneur game, doing e-commerce. So it's no surprise there that they're up for over the past 3 months. They're up like 43%, which is, I mean, massive. They're almost at that $1,000 mark for a stock price. So that's huge. And obviously, a company that people are talking a lot about, Zoom. I actually knew Zoom before all of this happened. So it was kind of weird to see all of a sudden like how popular and well known it is. Everyone's jumping on it, and they're up 130% in the past 3 months. And I know they're as profitable as this is probably gonna be for them. Apparently, they're having a lot of troubles with like cybersecurity and handling all the demand. Apparently, they were absolutely not prepared to handle this kind of whole situation. So some people are kind of coming out on top on this whole thing, which is kind of interesting. And so it's not all bad in an economic sense for everybody. So it kind of makes you think, what what opportunities are there right now for me to like capitalize on this whole thing and come out making a bunch of money? Who knows? Okay, I think I'm gonna go on to our last segment of the episode here, random thought of the day. Some of you might remember the last episode, my random thought. I was actually gonna do some investigation and come back with an answer. Now I have it. So my random thought, to reiterate, was there anyone who actually invented stairs, or was it just an architectural no-brainer? And it didn't take me long to find an answer. So, of course, here's the answer that I found online. So essentially, there's no one person that can be credited with the invention. There are different types of like staircases, let's say spiral staircase, for example, that they have instances where it was like the first one to be built. I think the first like granite staircase was in ancient China, but there was some Swiss architect, Werner Bosendorfer, who first attempted to standardize staircase guidelines. Didn't even know that was a thing in 1948. But other than that, I think it looks like from my cursory investigation that my intuition was right. There's no person that invented stairs. They're kind of just an architectural phenomenon that manifested, in the timeline couldn't get a really reliable, good response, or answer rather. But it looks like it's somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 BC. So stairs have been potentially around for about 8,000 years, which is, I don't know, there's a factoid for you. And today's random thought of today, this episode is it harder to turn $100 into $10,000 or $10,000 into $1,000,000? Given this some thought, a little bit, and I want to say that it's easier to turn 10 grand into $1,000,000. Just because of the notion that there's a lot more things that you can, essentially build or make, or businesses that you can start with 10,000, with an initial injection of $10,000 rather than $100. That's kind of my reasoning. That's how I think about it. Especially with like a software background, usually software, apps and software like web application stuff cost little to nothing to get up and running and to get going. For the most part, they're relatively cheap, way cheaper than an actual like physical product. That's why I think $10,000 into $1,000,000 could be easier. There is a good argument for the other one, $100 into 10,000, considering that there's more things. It feels like there's a lot more things you could do to make $10,000, but it seems like there's not as many things that you could do that could potentially get you to $1,000,000, just because it's, that's a lot more money. Which, I mean, could be true, could be not true. It kind of depends on, I guess, your experience and how do you think about money and making money. So, yeah, I'm curious to see. This isn't really a question that I'm going to investigate this time, but I'm curious to see what your guys' answers are. And I'll probably put this up to get some responses from the community again, on my Instagram story. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys say and what the arguments for or against, which one you think, $100 into 10,000 or 10,000 into $1,000,000. And with that, I think I'm going to cut it off here for today. Thanks for tuning in again, and I will see you guys next time.